There are moments in life when everything feels like it has quietly stopped, not in a dramatic way, not with noise or warning, but in a slow, unsettling stillness where even your prayers feel like they're hitting a ceiling you can't see. You wake up, and something inside you knows things are not moving the way you expected them to move. Doors you thought would open are still closed. Answers you were sure would come have not arrived. People you trusted to stay somehow are no longer there. And even though life continues around you, something within you feels paused, suspended, like you are stuck between what was and what should have been. And the hardest part is not always the waiting itself. It's the silence of it. The feeling that God is not responding in the language you understand anymore. You still believe, but it feels like belief without direction, faith without movement, hope without evidence. And in that place, you start to wonder if you missed something, if you made a mistake, if God forgot. But even here, especially here, something deeper is happening. Because not all silence is absence. Some silence is instruction. Some waiting is not punishment. It is preparation. And when life stops moving forward, it is often because something unseen is being formed within you that movement would have interrupted. You may not feel it yet, but heaven is not ignoring you. Heaven is working in a different layer than what your eyes can interpret. There are seasons where God does not change your situation quickly because he is doing something slower, deeper, something that cannot be rushed without being ruined. And in those seasons, you are not abandoned. You are being held in a process you do not yet understand. Sometimes you sit by a window and watch the world continue. Cars move, people laugh, messages come and go. Life looks normal everywhere except inside you, and you wonder why you feel stuck while everything else keeps flowing. But even in that stillness, God is present, even when nothing changes. He is not inactive. There's a verse that begins to echo differently in moments like this. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. Proverbs 3 verse 5. Because your understanding will always demand movement as proof of God's presence. But God is not limited to movement. Sometimes his deepest work happens when nothing is moving at all. There are things God cannot build in you while everything is going your way. There are lessons that only emerge when the ground beneath your expectations becomes still enough for you to finally notice him again. And maybe, just maybe, the delay is not denial. Maybe it is protection. Maybe what you prayed for was ready in your heart, but not yet safe in your character. And God, in his mercy, slows everything down so that when it arrives, it does not destroy you. You don't always recognize growth in real time. It rarely feels like growth. It feels like frustration, like waiting, like unanswered questions. But something is shifting inside you even now. Your patience is being stretched into endurance. Your emotions are being refined into wisdom. Your dependence is being redirected away from outcomes and back to God himself. And that shift, though painful, is sacred because there is a kind of faith that only appears when nothing else is working. Not the faith that celebrates open doors, but the faith that sits in closed ones and still whispers, God, I trust you anyway. You may not feel strong right now, but even your struggle to keep believing is itself a form of faith. And heaven sees that. There are moments when the silence feels almost physical, like it fills the room you are sitting in. You try to pray, but your words feel scattered. You try to worship, but your heart feels heavy. You try to think positively, but reality keeps pressing back. And in that tension, something beautiful begins to form, even if you cannot see it yet. Because God does some of his most precise work in quiet places. Not loud miracles, not immediate answers, but quiet transformation. There is another scripture that begins to rise in meaning here. He makes all things beautiful in its time. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 11. Not instantly, not according to pressure, not according to human urgency, but in time, in alignment, in divine timing that sees a full picture while you only see a fragment. And when life stops moving forward, it is often because you're standing inside a moment that is still being written from eternity's perspective. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are in a chapter that requires stillness before the next one can safely begin. And stillness, though uncomfortable, is not empty. It is forming something. It is shaping your ability to carry what you once prayed for without losing yourself in it. Sometimes you don't realize how much noise your life has carried until everything becomes quiet. And in that quiet, you begin to hear thoughts you avoided, feel emotions you postponed, notice wounds you covered with activity. And God, instead of rushing you past it, sits with you in it, not to condemn you, but to heal you, because healing rarely happens in motion. It happens in stillness, in honesty, in surrender. There's a sacred moment when you stop trying to force answers and simply admit, I don't understand this anymore. And strangely, that is where peace begins. Not because the situation changes immediately, but because your resistance softens. And in that softness, God speaks differently, not always in words, sometimes in reassurance, sometimes in memory, sometimes in a quiet, knowing that you are not alone in the waiting. You may be in a season where your plans feel suspended, but your soul is not suspended. It is being anchored, and anchoring is necessary when storms are not visible yet, but are forming in ways you cannot yet see. There are things you would have run into had God not slowed you down. There are decisions you would have made that would have taken years to recover from. There are relationships you would have forced that were never aligned with your destiny. And in the moment of waiting, it just feels like delay. But in hindsight, it will reveal itself as protection. Still, that is hard to see when you are in it. When you are in the waiting, it feels personal. It feels like rejection. It feels like silence means distance. But silence is not always distance. Sometimes silence is God working too deeply for words. There's a place where you stop asking, when will this change? And you start asking, what are you teaching me in this? And that question changes everything. Because now you are no longer only waiting for an outcome. You are being formed in the waiting. And formation is never wasted. Even when it feels slow. Even when it feels unfair. Even when you cannot explain it to anyone else. There are nights when you lie down and your mind refuses to rest. Thoughts replay conversations. Regrets surface. Questions echo. And you wonder if you're doing something wrong spiritually because everything feels so stuck. But even there, especially there, God is not absent. There's a verse that becomes quieter but stronger in those moments. My presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. Exodus 33, verse 14. Rest is not always sleep. Sometimes rest is knowing you are not alone in the uncertainty. Even when nothing is resolved, presence itself becomes the assurance. And slowly, something begins to shift inside you. Not the situation yet, but your posture within it. You stop trying to control what you cannot control. You stop rehearsing outcomes. You stop building timelines God never promised. And instead, you begin to breathe differently. There's a deep spiritual mystery here, that God often delays what we desire not to frustrate us, but to free us from our own limitations. Because sometimes what you are asking for is smaller than what God is preparing you to become capable of receiving. And if it arrived too soon, it would crush you under its weight. So he waits, not because he is withholding good, but because he is building capacity within you. There are seasons where God does not change your environment, because he is changing your foundation, and foundations cannot be rushed. They must be deep enough to hold weight you cannot yet imagine. You may feel like nothing is happening, but spiritually, something is being reinforced, something is being realigned, something is being prepared beneath the surface of what you can see. And that unseen work is often the most important work of all. There are moments when you sit in a quiet space, maybe a dim room, maybe near a window where light filters in slowly, and you feel the tension between who you were and who you are becoming. And it is uncomfortable, because becoming always requires letting go of old definitions of control, certainty, and timing. And God does not just change your situation. He changes your relationship with waiting itself. There is a moment, quiet, almost unnoticeable, when you realize you're no longer as anxious as you used to be about the outcome, not because you stopped caring, but because you started trusting differently. That moment is sacred. because it means something inside you has shifted from panic to peace, from control to surrender, from resistance to alignment. And heaven rejoices over that kind of growth more than immediate answers, because answers solve situations. But transformation sustains you through all situations. And in that quiet transformation, God is closest, not distant, not absent, closer than he has ever been. There is another slate of truth that appears in the silence. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46, verse 10. That stillness is not emptiness. It is recognition. It is a moment you stop demanding evidence and start resting in presence. And in that recognition, something breaks within you that was never meant to carry the weight of control. Not breaking in destruction, but breaking in release. And release is where freedom begins. You may not see the full picture yet, but you are not stuck. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are being guided through a process that is too detailed to rush and too loving to abandon. And even now, in the place where nothing seems to be moving, God is still writing, still forming, still preparing. And when movement returns, it will not just be forward motion. It will be aligned motion, rooted motion, sustained motion, the kind of movement that does not collapse under pressure because it was built in stillness first. So even here, in this quiet waiting, do not assume nothing is happening. Something is happening in you that is more important than what is happening around you. And when the time is right, you will understand why the waiting had to happen this way. But for now, you are not being asked to figure it all out. You are being asked to trust that even in the pause, God has not paused you. He has simply placed you in his hands where nothing is wasted, not even the waiting.